Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to your dose of zombies news from the game and its community here on COD Zombies HQ. Thank you so much for tuning in today because there is a lot of new zombies stuff to talk about, so without further ado, let's kick things right off with our first story of the day. The Season 5 Reloaded content update will be releasing next week on Thursday, and we got the full reveal of what's going to be added into the zombies mode in Cold War, with the first big thing that Treyarch is adding, and one that I'm actually really excited for, is the addition of the Armada map into the Outbreak game mode. Now, a lot of the maps in Outbreak kind of feel very similar to one another, with the new map they added at the start of Season 5, Collateral, feeling like the most unique out of the bunch, but Armada definitely breaks the mold of what is a traditional Outbreak map, with it being a lot more close quarters, and having it set on the high seas instead of just a bunch of open flat land will definitely make this the most unique Outbreak environment that we've had released so far. Excited to see exactly how it's going to play in Outbreak. For example, maybe some objectives such as transport or escort might not be available on Armada simply because it doesn't actually have the space for those objectives to take place. So I wonder how Treyarch's going to get around that, and I'm excited for that to release. Next up, they're adding another Outbreak feature. This seems to be, again, one of those Outbreak focused updates once more, for better or for worse. There is one big round-based thing included in this update, which we'll get to after this, but Treyarch says that they're adding a new world event, and it seems like this isn't really a world event per se, but just simply another new kind of loot chest that has some kind of a challenge associated with it, where Treyarch says across the Outbreak zones, Requiem is reporting the presence of a new chest type along the usual small, medium, and large, and golden variants, the mysterious black chest. Much like previous world events found throughout the regions, the exact details of this event are for Requiem agents to discover, and once they do, they may find the reward far outweighs the risk. So I'm sure it'll be some kind of thing where you activate the chest, you gotta fight off some kind of zombie horde, and you get some kind of significant reward for it. We've seen the Ether Tool power-up being added into Outbreak in the form of the Fury Crystal Challenge, which ups the rarity of your weapon by 1 level, so I wouldn't be surprised if maybe the reward for completing the black chest might reward you with a Chalice, which actually upgrades your Pack-a-Punch by 1 level. But next up, and this is probably the most interesting part of this update to me because it does relate to the round-based maps, where they're adding a new feature simply called the Rampage Inducer. A very cool name, but let's see what it actually does. Where Treyarch says operators heading back into round-based experience, so all the old round-based maps to complete Season 5 challenges, will also find a new feature on the maps to ramp up the action from the very start, called the Rampage Inducer, appearing as an orange essence canister in the starting area. So this will be located in the starting rooms of the 3 round-based maps we have in this game. The Rampage Inducer will temporarily ramp up the difficulty to cranked level proportions if all members in a squad agree to take on the challenge. Once activated, the canister will speed up zombie spawn rates and cause all zombies to sprint endlessly until round 20, turning up the action until the second major round milestone is reached, or a total squad wipe long before then. So this is essentially a way to make the early game of a round-based COD Zombies map a lot more difficult, and enables you to fly through those early rounds where a lot less is happening much more quickly. I'm a big fan of the difficulty level here in Cold War. It is pretty easy, but you can get away with a lot, and it results in a very fun gameplay. The added ability to kind of turn up the heat in those early rounds is going to make this a lot more interesting. It's not like they're increasing the zombie health once you activate the Rampage Inducer. All it does is it makes it so that there'll be constant zombie spawn with likely little or no time in between when you're actually like switching rounds. And of course the zombies will be sprinting, meaning they'll get to you a whole lot more quickly. So it seems like this might be one of those cases where you want to grab stamina probably earlier than you'd used to if you end up activating the Rampage Inducer at the beginning of your game. And like Treyarch says, this is a feature they're adding to the starting room of all the round-based maps in the game so far, and I assume that'll also be added into the new round-based map coming in Season 6. A neat little feature, and I hope they keep kind of innovating and adding these kinds of features to round-based maps, not only in the future here in Cold War, but also in COD Vanguard, considering Treyarch is handling zombies for that game. Next up, still a few weeks away, as kind of an in-season event within Season 5 Reloaded, Treyarch is releasing the Numbers event, which includes new content across Warzone, Cold War multiplayer, and Cold War Zombies. It seems like the new content within Cold War Zombies is in the form of a new mode called Outbreak Survival. Now, immediately upon hearing that, as a fan of round-based maps, I'm thinking Outbreak Survival, interesting. I wonder if they're going to start making more enclosed areas as kind of traditional round-based zombies maps, but set within the Outbreak maps themselves. That's what I think of when I hear Outbreak Survival, and apparently a lot of you guys initially did as well. But unfortunately, that is not what this mode is. Where instead, at its core, Outbreak Survival is just simply the Outbreak game mode as it always has been. You complete objectives, you warp from map to map, and you can exfil when you decide to end it. What's different is that while it's Outbreak, it kind of adds some more difficulty tweaks. Where Treyarch says about the mode, this limited time Outbreak mode, so it won't be a permanent mode within the game, amps up the survival horror aspects of the zombies experience, fundamentally changing Outbreak to make it a truly punishing yet rewarding challenge. Operators will only bring in the field upgrade from their starting loadout, with their primary weapon being replaced by a single 1911. Once boots hit the ground in a random region, more modifiers become clear, the minimap and overhead map are disabled, music is turned off for some reason, and the HUD displays little intel. So beyond just starting with a traditional 1911 with no attachments on it and having some elements within the game disabled such as your HUD, the minimap, and music for some reason, the biggest change with the Outbreak Survival mode has to do with your health and health regeneration, where Treyarch says that whenever an operator takes damage, there is no auto regeneration to save them. Instead, they must find a brand new item, food, to heal. These food items have 4 rarity levels, and you can see them here. They're represented in-game by different food: canned corn, chocolate chip cookies, chicken soup, and an entire pizza. So basically, at its core, this Outbreak Survival mode is just Outbreak, but with no health regeneration, and the only way to regenerate your health being these food item drops. So it's a kind of new concept. It's a little bit different. I personally always disliked game modes and games that didn't have health regeneration, like in the old Call of Duty campaigns, but I guess it'll be interesting to see how that actually works in an Outbreak map when it releases a few weeks from now. Next up, recently Treyarch actually did release a new patch into Cold War Zombies that made some changes and fixes into the Zombies mode. I didn't cover it then, let's cover it now. One thing I'll say off the top is the blueprint issue is still not fixed. They made one minor tweak to it in this update, which we'll talk about, but yeah, Treyarch is aware that applying blueprints in Zombies is still broken to various degrees, and I guess they're still working on a fix for that. But what they actually did change within the mode, in terms of stability, Treyarch says they've added stability fixes for rare issues related to the main Easter egg in Mauer der Toten, the bunny side Easter egg, the Outbreak trials, and the spawning of the chalice and other ether tool items. Now, I don't believe there's an Easter egg that enables you to get a chalice within Mauer der Toten, so I don't exactly know what they're talking about there. Maybe it could be related to some kind of unfound egg. I know, of course, you can get the ether tool by doing the buried shooting range Easter egg on Mauer, but over in Outbreak, and this is actually kind of interesting, and I'm glad they're doing this, and I hope they actually do this with the new Armada map, where they say that they've increased the chance to rotate to Collateral, the new Outbreak map, in earlier regions within that mode. So you'll be actually able to play the new map more quickly and earlier than instead having to rely on rotating it to one of the other random Outbreak maps and getting to play it eventually. So good change there. In terms of the first kind of blueprint fix we've seen, Treyarch says they've addressed an issue that could cause loss of functionality when applying a blueprint just before using the grapple gun. So this isn't a fix to the main blueprint issues that players are having across Outbreak and round-based maps, but I guess it is a start working towards fixing that. Next up, in regards to exfilling from a map, Treyarch says they've addressed an issue that could allow a Hellhound to become stuck during exfil. Not exactly sure what map that's on, whether it's on one of the Outbreak maps or if it's on Firebase Z or Mauer. And lastly, in regards to a perk fix, they say they've addressed a rare issue that could cause death perception to create phantom duplicated items that could not be picked up. So a good change there. I have seen a lot of people reporting this issue where there'll be like salvage on the ground that just straight up can't be picked up, and it just stares at you, trolling you menacingly until it actually despawns. But guys, that wraps up the news today. I want to thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, be sure to hit that thumbs up button down below. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Action for new content within Zombies is slowly starting to ramp up again, getting close to Season 5 Reloaded. And of course, we're expecting the DLC for Zombies map to be released at the start of Season 6, which is fairly close now. But I want to thank you again for watching, and I'll see you with another Zombies news video very soon. Peace.